This Quinoa Sloppy Joe was made in response to the nuclear crisis in Japan because I particularly do not trust rice anymore. So, neither do a lot of consumers in Japan, particularly in Eastern Japan. So, the reason why I made the Quinoa Sloppy Joe is a replacement for rice coming out of Asia. While the so-called experts say that readings of radiation in the air have returned to pre-311 levels in most areas of Japan, not including areas close to the plant though, and the so-called hotspots, the contamination of soil which affects the food chain could pose a long-term health risk. Iodine-131, cesium-134, and cesium-137 were released in large quantities by the nuclear plant, and if they are accumulated in the body, they could cause cancer. Since the disaster struck, the Japanese government has been monitoring radiation levels in food from Fukushima and neighboring prefectures, and barring the distribution of any items containing radioactive materials exceeding the national safety limits. But still, public fears over food safety are hard to quell, even in Tokyo, more than 200 kilometers away. Since this stuff is invisible, I just don't believe that neither the Japanese government or the United States government or any government in the world has a grasp of the real situation that's going on over there. That's why I'm switching to quinoa. Much has been said about the nutritiousness of brown rice, but when it comes to radiation, it is the bran layer beneath the husk that absorbs and accumulates cesium from soil. That means white, polished rice, which has no bran layer, is a safer option, though it does contain fewer vitamins, minerals, and fiber than brown rice. If you rinse white rice well before cooking, you can remove radiation-emitting residue on the grain. Well, that's a big gamble since it's invisible, so that's why I go with quinoa. It's a lot safer, and it's the mother of the ancient grains. This is a very simple recipe, and it takes no more than an hour to prepare. First, get yourself some extra virgin olive oil. That's what you're going to be cooking the garlic in. Pour it in the pan. I put in 3 cloves of garlic. If you want, put as many as you want. Take 1 onion and dice it up. Now add your diced tomatoes, organic diced tomatoes. But usually I will use Eden brand because they carry a BPA free lining. You could probably add any kind of your favorite beans that you want, but I love the chickpeas, of course by Eden, BPA free lining. Add a half a cup of organic quinoa. One of the most important things about quinoa is it contains a toxic substance to insects, so it must be washed off. Some brands show it that it is washed, some brands do not say if it's washed or not. So I would wash them anyways, and it should be under cold water for 3 minutes. That's what these saponins are, soap-like substances that occur on the outside of the quinoa grains. It's believed that they are put there by nature to deter the insects and birds. That's what will give it a bitter taste if you don't wash that stuff off. Now add your spring water, and it's double the amount of the quinoa. I put in a half a cup of quinoa, so I got 1 cup of water. If you do 1 cup of quinoa, then you do two cups of water. Now it's time to add your meat. This time I'm using ground sirloin, and last time I used bison. I prefer the bison, but you got to use what's available, and this time I've got the sirloin. So you don't need to use any meat whatsoever. It could be vegetarian style, and don't add any meat if you don't want to. Now it's time to add the sucanat, and you want to do 2 tablespoons. Cover it up and bring it to a boil. And after it brings you to a boil, put it on the lowest flame you can get it on for 45 minutes, stirring every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, gotta stir it so it doesn't burn. After 45 minutes cooking, set it aside off flame for 10 minutes. If you want to, you may or may not add some spices, and I usually use ground black pepper. I really like the all season salt by Simply Organic, or a little touch of Himalayan pink sea salt. That's up to you. Flavor it however you desire with taste, but I think it adds a little dimension to it. And if you want to, you can. If not, don't bother. The 10-minute cool down is over, so let's dig in. You could use it as a main meal, or you could use it as a side dish to your other meats. I got a chicken breast here, breaded chicken breast. As you can see, this is with my seasonings on it. You can see the little specks on it. Give it that little punch. Now what I did for leftovers the next day is I added a ripened sweet pineapple to it, and I warmed it up with the leftovers, and it was amazing. So I would recommend actually putting it in the original dish, the original batch, and the sweetness and the juiciness is just unbelievable. So try it. I think you might like it.